Hello, you're welcome to Moment for Thought. I am Aliyu Bababaro. We're going to take a look at the issue of anti-corruption campaign by the nation, not just by the government or functionaries of government. Perhaps they pilot the issue of anti-corruption. As a dynamic issue, we're going to have a look at what really, or who are really in it, who are supposed to champion it. Because at any time that a government brings an issue, a campaign, it becomes a campaign slogan, or is left to the government to handle it alone. But perhaps government only pilot the nation. Today's discussion is to take a look at the interagency role in the campaign against corruption, the ministries, parastatals, and departments of government, and of course the general public. I have with me in the studio Professor Femi Odekunle, Professor of Criminology, the first in the country, a teacher through and through. He is member Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption. You are in the right place, sir.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, I have Madam Elias Gashimbaki. He's the Chairman Society for Forensic Accounting and Fraud Prevention, founder and global partner Discovery Cycle Professionals Limited, a consulting firm with vast experience in forensic audit, taxation, investments, finance operations management, and policy. Madam Elias Gashimbaki has a degree in accounting and master's in law enforcement and criminal justice, and a certificate in corruption studies. He once served in the office of the economic advisor to the president, and of course I am the security printing and minting company. I suppose all is financing, and when you account well. So
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Yes, I think let me go straight to you.
Yes.
When you talk about accounting, many manipulation, as the public believe, it comes from all these rudiments of accounting, even in the ministries, in the private sector, wherever. There must be collaborative effort of professionals or the public servants themselves. And how do you embrace this issue of forensic accounting? What do you do? Do we have this kind of thing in existence, that we have all these loopholes here and there?
All right, thank you so much. Essentially, let me say that the evolution of forensic accounting came as a consequence of the growing complexities in the financial system. Over the years, the financial system has grown more and more complex. And then, on the other hand, criminals have also grown wiser and more sophisticated.
Yes.
So, and therefore, the traditional accounting knowledge is no longer sufficient to tackle the challenges that has to do with proper bookkeeping, accounting, and auditing.
Yes.
And therefore, a combination of all, a bit of accounting, a bit of law, a bit of IT, a bit of psychology, a bit of criminology, fused in together, evolves to give you the forensic accountant.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I remember just recently,
Yes.
there was a workshop which attracted the media tremendously.
Yes.
That professionals are coming to say, we want to assist government to complement government's role
Yes.
in attacking all these issues of corruption.
Yes.
And your association came up with that.
Yes.
How do you think you will come in this direction?
Yes. What we have seen and why we particularly made that call is that first of all, we understand, and it's very clear that government cannot do this alone.
Yes.
there is the challenge of capacity, and there is also that the issue of the institutions themselves are weak. Now, for example, that was the reason why we made the call that as we speak today, we have in excess of 1.2 trillion trapped as operating surplus within MDAs that are supposed to remit these funds to the Consolidated Revenue Fund. And that has not happened. So imagine that amount of money held by these entities that typically should have been remitted back to the Consolidated Revenue Fund, and which, by our own estimation, can fund even 10% of the 2020 budget, which is at about 10 trillion. So it's we've seen the inability of government to overcome these things, and at this point in time, we think it is just right to stretch a hand of fellowship to the government to say, look, we can help you fix this.
Okay. Well, there's another dimension to it, Professor. Many people have the firm belief that when you attack corruption, it has to do with individuals in position of authority who have embezzled money. But this time around, we have even the MDAs, they don't remit funds. And he's talking about lack of capacity. And in your own activity as Advisory Committee Against Corruption, things like that have come up?
Yes. It is good to appreciate the Association of Forensic Accounting for determining to assist government in the fight against corruption.
Yes.
As somebody who has studied corruption before becoming a member of PACAC, and as PACAC made up of professors of criminology and law, we are able to determine, which will be known to everybody, that the role of professionals in corruption in this country is disheartening, because the professions are supposed to have ethical consideration, ethical ground norms that would determine the way they operate among themselves and the way they relate to others outside the professions. This is particularly so with the elite professions, like the legal profession, lawyers and judges, accounting, banking, engineering, quantity surveying, auditing. It is clear. Evidence is available that there is no, and I've repeated it on your program before, there is no execution of corrupt act, particularly at the large scale and medium scale level, without the collaboration of the professions.
Yes.
Meaning it is impossible to execute any medium level or large scale level of corruption which take place in the MDAs without the collaboration of those elite professions. Now, of course, you cannot then you cannot then blame the professions or the MDAs outside of the political economy of the country. In other words, why one must appreciate what the forensic accountants are offering, which it would be good if all other professions are doing so, but their success or effectiveness in making that contribution could come to nothing without looking at a holistic view of the situation of corruption in the country. Yes. Whether it's ministry, whether it's department, whether it's agency, we know that corruption is going on. Over over decades now, every sector of the population, every sector of the economy contributes their own quota to corruption. In tackling crimes, you could say, oh, only poor people will burglarize. Yes. Only people who are educated will be armed robbers. Only those who don't have money will commit theft. But we have a situation whereby every sector of the population, whether in the private sector or the public sector, they are engaging in corrupt acts. Yes. But since we are brought in the forensic accounting, I think today you are only talking about financial corruption. But there are other types of corruption that are related. I always say there is political corruption, electoral corruption, corruption by bureaucrats, corruption by the profession, corruption by artisans and
education
and educationists. Okay, but apparently today we are limiting the discussion to financial corruption, and I'm saying that it goes beyond the commitment of any of the professions to deal with the if as he says, the forensic accountants want to help with this matter, what about the the main accounting profession itself? What about the legal profession? You are Nigerians, you have evidence of recent whereby judges collaborate with corruptors, whereby lawyers, including senior advocates, are indictable, even though not indicted on this matter. Not to talk about quantity surveyors or structural engineers, where buildings collapse, where the quantity surveyor could be guilty, if not the architect, and yet nothing is happening. Again,
it's multidimensional. Kind of.
That is the point. I thank you, Aliu, for coming to my aid. That is the summary. That effort must be appreciated of forensic accountants, but that it must be seen to be effective. It has to be considered in an holistic manner. That if all other professions would do so, it will be good. And there are two levels. First of all, each of those professions, including forensic accounting, they must agree themselves that they will follow their code of ethics. Each of the professions has code of ethics. Yes. I'm aware of this to start with, and I'm aware that PACA, Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption, knowing this situation, we have engaged the Association of Professional Bodies to tell them how they could help us in the fight against corruption. So each one has code of ethics. To what extent do they obey their own code of ethics? If they were obeying their own code of ethics, then they would not collaborate or cooperate with corruption in the MDAs.
Yes. well, when you see where is a game of compromise, so to speak. As I said earlier, if you are dealing with forensic, definitely, as the professor said, you could nip it in the bud, so that we curb all these things. There wouldn't have been even the issue of corruption to be at the center stage of governance. Yes. Because when you talk about fighting corruption, what of other areas? You know? So, but how do you inject that forensic ability, so to speak? Because even the other dimensions, when you talk about quantity surveying, obviously, your builder, whatever, your contractor will bring you a bill presented by the quantity surveyor, so to speak, to go through. How does the forensic accounting come in? How do you nip it in the bud, these kind of things from the MDAs?
Yes, that's why I said the first step will be to understand that there is a need to build capacity. What you find in the MDAs or across the tiers and the arms of government, there have not been proper keepings of books of accounts. There have been so much modeling of information, and we need to really get that sorted. I'll give you an example.
Deliberate attempt or what?
No, I'll give you an example, sir.
Yes.
We have less than 5 states today in Nigeria that have, I'm not sure it's even up to 5.
Yes.
that have their audited accounts up to date. So which means to even have your own audited accounts is a challenge. And that is why you see also, as a body of forensic accountants, we went ahead to say that, look, we can even support the troubling states that are now bankrupt.
Yes.
Because the index is very clear. We have more than 10 states in Nigeria today that their total IGR is less than 10% of their FAC allocation. And again, if they were even to borrow,
Abuja will have made more than the 10.
yes. So so that is just one index. So we have a situation where we know that if the quality of information is analyzed properly, probably maybe that will make us begin to take these things so seriously.
Yes.
Yeah.
You see, Prof, why this issue of forensic attracted my attention actually is that when we are fighting corruption, as I said earlier, we think that the corrupt people, yeah, they are arrested, they are prosecuted and what have you. Whereas in the operations of government, the 3 tiers of government, don't even talk about local government. Niger State just recently, the governor approved the dismissal of 80 staff for financial misdemeanor. And since he came in, there are about several committees he put to take a look at even the issue of ghost workers and what have you. But within the system, people that are not ghost workers, a revelation came up that some even increased their own salaries. It has to do with accounting on their own. And they've been collecting these ever before he came in for the first time.
And it could not be done without the cooperation of the accountants.
Yes.
This is what I'm saying about the ethical, the implementation or the adherence to the ethical, the code of conduct of the professions.
Yes.
And then you have to think, why are they not adhering to the code of conduct? Not just account, but other professions. So that's why I said it's more fundamental than capacity, than training, than information. There is something more fundamental because it affects. How come it affects every of our professions in Nigeria? That common trend is causal, and it has to be understood if we really want to tackle corruption. I mean, the accountant is another profession. Legal, the lawyer is another profession.
The auditing system.
The auditing is another profession. How come they have that common disposition towards corruption? And the same accountants, the same lawyers, the same quantity surveyors will go and practice in other countries like UK and US, and they will behave well and obey the.
So it's the system that matters.
Yeah, that is the point I'm saying. We must not forget that. We must always factor that into the anti-corruption crusade or fight.
Yeah. You wanted to say something?
Yeah, and that is why we know that corruption is a default setting in any society. You find it in rich countries, you find it in poor countries. Yes. Now, the only way to create a bypass is first to ensure that you have strong internal controls. You have strong institutions. Because why do people, let's go to the root causes, and which Prof here has been lecturing that in class for years.
Yes.
Why do people commit fraud? 3 reasons. First of all, the opportunity. Once there is an opportunity,
enabling environment to do that.
Yes, enabling environment. The second is once the opportunity is there, the other thing that comes to mind is rationalization as to, okay, is anybody doing it, or the people that have done it, what actually happened to them. So you can now see that the opportunity is there, you have rationalized it, that you can get away with it, or it can be done. Now, there is nothing that stops you from going ahead to commit the crime, because the underlying factor of why you want to even commit crime in the first instance is pressure. And that pressure can come from any source. That's okay. Pressure, you want to pay school fees. Pressure, you want to help.
From friends, from
Pressure,
relatives.
That.
Motivation.
Yes, so that gives you the complete fraud triangle. Pressure, opportunity, you rationalize, then you commit the fraud. So since we know that in human societies, you can never have corruption or fraud eliminated, what you will then do is to build supporting structures that makes this impossible.
Yes.
Or minimizes it.
And we need professionals to do
Yes.
that.
Yes, and we need professionals, Prof,
Yes.
to do it.
No, I'm
Yes.
no, I'm for professionals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, he's done. He
Yes.
said that.
Is it the practicality on the ground suggests to me that we need to go fundamental in tackling corruption. They say it's not an error when something occurs A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
There must be a cause other than error alone,
Yeah.
and that cause we have to find it. The Accountant General sends his people to all MDAs, yet we have this problem occurring. Even when a minister or a PAMSEC needs 1 million naira overnight, they make it available. How they do it, I don't know. And they lay accountants to do it. When you fire the accountant will go to the lawyer, who will go to the industrial court, and they say you fired him wrongly, which happened in INEC after the fire about 20-something people that had confessed to bribery and corruption.
Yes.
Then you know about the case. Then when they went to industrial court, they said you didn't fire them wrongly. Back to work. What is the effect on that on other workers?
Your final words.
Yes, my final word would be is we try as much as possible to put in structures that makes that opportunity impossible.
Yes.
Because people will always generally people have propensity to do wrong or to commit fraud. So what will stop that is the amount of internal controls and processes that makes it impossible.
Yes.
So when even if you would want to steal and there is no opportunity to steal, you won't do it. So no matter the code of ethics, the professional code of conduct, you cannot guarantee that members will adhere to that because it's about their conscience.
Yes.
So, but what you
There
can
must be
get,
mechanism in place.
Yes.
To check them.
yes.
Yes.
What will make them not to do, or when they do it, they see that the consequences is so severe.
Yes.
That is the only way to
Prompt
stop it.
and certain punishment.
Yes.
Yes.
Prompt and certain punishment, whether at the ethical professional level
Yes.
or at the societal MDA or private sector level, there must be prompt and certain punishment for a significant proportion. You can't punish everybody, but if a significant proportion, whether of politician, whether of MDAs, whether of professional, if a significant proportion gets punished to the knowledge of the population, then we'll start making progress.
Yes. Well, thank you very much, Professor Femi Odekunle, for such wonderful discussion and contribution. I know it's your field. I wouldn't like to say criminology is your field.
No, it's okay. We just continue to contribute our quota
Yes.
to the exchange of ideas.
Thank you very much, Malam Elias Gashimbaki,
Thank you, sir.
for honoring our invitation. There has been moment for thought, and we talked about anti-corruption campaign, not just a government or government slogan as people will have wanted to take it, but we need to inject it into all the fabrics of the system so that it becomes a body built, a body felt, and body execution by the individuals. Just as Mr. President said, the corruption fight is for you and me, and we have opportunity. Let's use it. Thank you for watching. Goodbye. Thank you.